100%. And I could definitely say growing up, my mom was my biggest role model because she is such a badass woman, and she fights for what she believes in, and she takes it to the next level. And I respect her so much for that. One thing that I can say differentiates us is that right now she's still in real estate. I'm obviously in real estate as well. Her clients are also very much referral based, but she hates social media. She hates online. She hates all of that. But she knows that's the way of the future. She knows that that is what the world is going towards, that direction. And she knows that that is what she needs to be doing as well. But that's not her passion. And I remember a few years back when I was just starting to come onto social media, trying to expand it, she was even telling me like, why are you trying to do that? Like, like old school way of trying to get business, get clients, grow. And I'm like, you know what? But I love this. And I think that this is what's going to help me grow. And now today, she's just like, you know what? Good for you for going and doing it that way. It's completely different than what I ever did. I never did it that way. And I grew in my own way. And now you're going in your own way, completely different. And we're both successful in what we're doing, just in completely different ways and what's working for each of us. And that's why that's something that I respect about her so much, is that she had her own way of doing it and she grew to the top. And still, she was that role model for me who taught me how to close my first deal, who taught me how to write a contract from the very beginning. Because for 1 year, I told you, I wasn't
you grinded. I mean, it wasn't like you started at the top. You had to put in the work, right?
Grinded for 1 whole year. I was an assistant, going from being an engineer, working in a huge company, to being an assistant for 1 year, doing contract work, filing. Do you know how difficult that is to do, to put your ego aside to do that? And that's why for a year, until I learned everything. I learned the bread and butter of it. I started from the bottom until I said, you know what? Now it's time for me to get out of my comfort zone again, come out of having that comfortable salary. Let's try and do this on my own. And I did it myself, from first grinding like that, and then off of my social media, and then getting people to know me, and then one step at a time, growing my business. Now it's been over 6 years full time now doing this, and
that's great.
Founder of my own team now. So I'm very excited.
I do see that you're elevating others to elevate, same way you do obviously with the people that you enroll, or not enroll, but sell houses, but it's more about their joining a fraternity with you. It seems like that has that feel. Also, the people that you're training, you're lifting. I did see, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I wrote it down somewhere and I don't have the cue card, but there's a girl that you were training and she was praising you as a mentor.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really amazing, because a lot of people, they think just because you own a business, you're not, I'm training every day. I'm training everybody.
100%. I have a girl on my team who she made me cry, honestly. She's a nurse by practice and by trade, and she was top, and she could have made it to like the top of the top of the hospital. And she said that I didn't love what I do. And she said, honestly, seeing you go from engineering and going into becoming a realtor and becoming top of what you're doing, that really inspired me. And she said, first she started by being a nurse and being a realtor part-time, both trying to make it. And then she said, you know what, Tirajeh, I see what you're doing and I want to make it to the top just like the way that you did. And I know that I can't be a part-time nurse and be a part-time realtor and make it. I have to let go, do 100%. And she said that you really inspired me to want to put 100% of my effort into this. And I know that I can make it. I said, 100% you can. And the training that I've been doing with her every single week with my whole team, I see the progress that she's making. And I'm so proud of her. And taking them to the next level, taking them to meetings with me, introducing them to how to talk to developers, how to do marketing, sales. And she said, I know that marketing speaks #1 right now. And I want to be able to take my own business to the next level too. And I love being able to train my entire team to do top of the line elite marketing, elite sales, elite service.
I owes you an apology. I don't think people have really captured a true essence of the powerful Samanah Duran yet. So I'm going to show everybody what it's supposed to sound like in an interview with someone like this.
It's just such an honor, and I'm so happy to pick up from where we last left off and cover everything that we've been speaking about. And thank you once again. What an honor. Yeah, it's about digging deep and just even asking the questions that everybody else seems to be so afraid to ask. There's nothing worse than being on a podcast show or being interviewed and it's just all the same monotonous crap that you just hear. So it's jump out of the box, do something different, ask me something like thought-provoking or something, because it all just gets so boring. Like, of course I support female entrepreneurship, of course digital media, of course I love advertising, of course I love championing women, but just like ask me something different, like make the audience think, can you do that? You know, are you willing to take the blame? Are you willing to get up early? Are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to do all those things like you and I both do as an entrepreneur? And most people aren't, and then they wonder why they're not where they want to be. That's the issue that we're faced with, is that everybody loves to say I'm an entrepreneur, but do you really know? Do you really truly understand what it entails to be an entrepreneur when you don't sleep at night, when you're thinking about your business nonstop, when you're worried about paying staff, when you're worried about overheads, when you're worried about XYZ? Like, that's the problem that we're faced with. Because I always say, if you win, I win. If I win, you win. Collectively, we should be winning and bringing up people together to win.
This is something that we both champion, is that we throw them a lifeline. Here's how I went about doing this. It just gives the world a chance to catch up.
Being a fitness icon at that time, you know, in the early 2000s, you know, I go to these companies because now the sponsor influencer thing is normal.
It's big. Yeah.
It's big. Back then, oh, you look too threatening as a black man. We can't endorse you. Oh, black guys don't sell video. You know, this was 2000. This was 20-something years ago. They'll tell you right here, oh, black people don't work out. We're not giving you any type of endorsement. You know, black people don't buy vitamin. You know, so it's a lot of adversity, even doing health and wellness back then as now, which is exciting. Which is exciting now because, you know, we get to control the narrative now, the disruptors.
You don't need much of an introduction, but there's a lot of things that you have going on right now, which is, I'm sure we'll go into this. For those who don't know who you are, not hearing a previous episode until now, like, how do you go about describing who you are and what you're about?
You know what? That's actually a really good question, because I actually am still trying to figure that out. Maybe you can help me with this because you do a lot. I also do a lot. So like, how do we like introduce ourselves to the world? I think I would probably say when people ask me, what is it that you do? Funny enough, I've actually changed this over the last, I would say 2 years. Now I say I'm a tech startup fanatic. And they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, I love startups in tech, everything tech I love. And they're like, well, what do you do in tech? And I was like, well, I basically help startups to, I guess, essentially go-to market strategy, brand awareness, influence, corporate strategies, funding, investment, that type of thing. And then I also run an agency which is called anamus.com, which is a digital agency where we scale brands in tech. And on top of that, I'm actually about to, I think last time we spoke, we were talking about an application which actually went sour, which I'm happy to talk about. It was Workle. Went sour with the partners that I was in. Long story short, now we're getting acquired with Focus as an agency, and we're turning the agency service into a product called Ployd, Ployd, which is.
I saw that. I think you sent it. I think it was Will. Is it Will sent me something?
So yeah. I'm not sure, but long story short, we're creating this awesome subscription-based product where basically you can get a whole recruitment service from end to end on a small flat fee or retainer subscription-based, because, you know, recruitment, let's face it, it's not sustainable. You know, they're charging 20 to 50K a pop to place a person that may or may not last, right? So we are essentially coming in and becoming the Netflix of recruitment, I guess.
Loving myself as a brown woman, it goes deep, because us brown women, we're not taught how to love ourselves. We're taught to please the invisible mother-in-law from the age of 5, or pleasing our husbands from the age of puberty. And, you know, your future husband is not going to be impressed. Saying, you know what? There's nothing to be scared about. You can actually do this. And now doing this membership site as well is just like giving me a platform to really reach people who need the help, really reach people who haven't had the ability to believe in themselves or be able to tackle. Like, one thing I realized, we don't know how to articulate our feelings. So when I speak about loving myself as a brown woman, it goes deep, because us brown women, we are not taught how to love ourselves. We're taught to please the invisible mother-in-law from the age of 5, or pleasing our husbands from the age of puberty, and do this because your future self, your future husband is not going to be impressed with this. But nobody teaches us as brand females how to love and respect ourselves before we love and respect somebody else. So when you give permission, when I speak about it, it's almost like giving other brand females that can relate to me to give themselves permission to love themselves. And I've seen this happen so many times when people give me feedback. Thank you for allowing me to share my story, and you share your story. I've changed as a result, X, Y, and Z. And my tools are literally fitness. Fitness is the tool that I use. But through the fitness, I channel that energy to teach them how to love themselves. When you love your body, when you look after your mind, when you give yourself good food, good sleep, good everything, it's like, why wouldn't you want to be happy? Why wouldn't you want to love yourself?
That's a great question to lead with. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That's the most offensive question you can ask anybody, is why.
Yeah. And people get upset because they haven't been challenged, right?
No. Because that's not the way the society breeds individuals. And I can go on for years about this, because they're never going to question a narrative. They're just going to conform and then go in line. There's people that I've grew up with, probably throw banana peels at a TV screen when they see me, but they're so stuck in their world, and they're only receiving what they're given by their own perception and reality, by the opportunities in life. And just like you talked about the word potential, that word potential, it's not even potential. Are you tapped into your source?
Yeah.
That's the question. Are you tapped into your true self?
Yeah.
And that when you are tapped in to your true self, and you're doing what God, Allah, whatever people believe universe is telling you to do, that's a different type of vibe.
100%.
Why do you think throughout your journey, you kept going back to more female empowerment?
I think it's because I feel like as women, especially, we tend to be more like, we don't have that confidence, so to speak, as many men do. Like they'll walk into a room, they'll own the room. I'm not saying we're all like that, but there's kind of this idea that women have to always be, a bit timid and well-mannered, etc. And I'm not saying by walking into a room of being loud you're not well-mannered, but it's kind of this idea that kind of goes throughout society, and we always have these expectations on us, and things we have to do, have done by a certain age, etc. And I kind of just thought, well, I never resonated with that, and I was like, I just want women they're the ones that need that empowerment to feel better about themselves. Like, of course, I'm not dismissing the fact men do, but I think women need it even more. And I think now more women are doing that, because it's just, I think, after things like the Me Too movement and stuff like that, we've kind of realized that actually we do need this, and we do need to empower each other rather than competing against each other, which can happen, especially with a lot of women, because you've always got this idea of competition, whether you're competing for a man or you're competing for a job, or, well, the reality is there's room for everyone. I think we just need to celebrate ourselves and celebrate other women.
And not the Bob Hanson, Alec Hanson.
My volleyball coach called me Bob.
I did want to bring up one thing before I forget.
Yeah.
You had a belly ring on one of your posts.
The belly button ring.
Yes, the belly button ring.
So my guy, who's one of my partners, who's helped me produce this fun series. We get that script right, and we get together. We just kind of come up with all this crazy stuff. And at one point, he was like, it should be a grill, right? Like, so like a full on teeth gold grill. And I'm like, bro, like, I'm like a little white guy. I'm not putting a grill on like in cancel culture world. And he's like, okay, fine, it'll be a belly button ring. I'm like, fine, belly button ring will be fine. But there was no actual piercing done. It was just him giving me shit. So it's all good.
I thought it was kind of cool, because the more I read into your story, you went from evolving local belly-to-belly sales skills to digital sales and online branding building.
Yes.
Like, I was like, is that where he got it from? Is that like a, well, that's a hell of a segue. Not that many people would get it, but if it was, I would have been a genius.
Dude, it is wild what's happening in my industry from, and it, back, it's 18 years since I've been in this game in mortgage. It's crazy. how long that has really been, because mortgage is like dog years. Like every day is hell. It's 7 years and 1 for 1. And from 18 years ago, when literally the business was exactly like you said, belly to belly, you meet people, you build relationships, to this world where we have all of human knowledge like in our pocket, and
crazy.
All of our behaviors have changed, and yet in my industry, many of the sales strategies and tactics never changed. And so, COVID, we're talking about COVID being a blessing and connecting to people digitally, all that fun stuff. The biggest blessing of COVID for my industry was this wake-up call, because it was a forced move to get people out of their comfort zone into this new place, which is ironic because it's where we all been anyway. We've been digital as a community for years. We love Amazon, we love Yelp, we love Uber, we love all that stuff digitally, and yet in the mortgage industry, it was just pretty archaic. So it's been a pretty radical journey.
And the one thing I do love about is Loan Depot. What I love about the company that allows people to spread their wings and develop their own personal brands with it. You see, especially when companies go public like this, they don't want the people within the company or growing the company. It doesn't matter if you own it or a director or whatnot. I think that was forcing major corporations to change the way they allow people to develop their own content and getting themselves out there with their personal brand. And I believe it's a smart move by your company, a very smart move.
Dude, Anthony Shea, so he's always had a particular saying that has kind of been a driving part of the culture of Loan Depot, which is serve the customer the way they want to be served.
Right.
So a lot of mortgage companies try to stand up a vertical and say, if you want to get a loan from us, this is the channel you have to go down, whether it's a call center or somebody in the community. It's like, this is the path. And Anthony was like, no, if someone wants to be a full digital customer, they want to transact everything online, they never want to meet a person, they want to just text, whatever it is, then we need to have technology and infrastructure in a place to serve that person. At the same time, people like people. Like, so it's this really big dichotomy, Chris. It's fascinating. So you look at like human consumerism. We love brands. Humans love brands, dude. Nike, Amazon. I say Amazon, and people in my new hire class like smile immediately. We just love brands. At the same time, though, when it comes down to wisdom or consultative knowledge, we like humans. We want to know who's the best tax preparer, who's my best financial advisor, who's the best surgeon because I'm dying and I don't want to go to WebMD. So we like humans, but we like brands. And one of the things that I think is Loan Depot's strength is just understanding, hey, let's do some major consumer branding. Let's take down the Major League Baseball sponsorship. Let's rename the Marlin Park Loan Depot Park. Let's do some national stuff that gives consumers this connection to a brand, but at the same time, let's not ignore the fact that people like to work with people they like.
Is that some of the things that you obviously talk about with the CEOs? They're like, listen, we need to kind of address this right at the head and then go down? Or how do you typically go about doing that?
The person that I usually spend the most time with is sort of the person that's stuck in the middle, right? They're
got it.
The director, the chief people officer, the person that brings me in and says, we recognize our company needs work. We need to work on this project, this process, this project, this initiative is usually the way it's framed. And we do have some buy-in from our executive team, but we need to figure out how to start. And so we end up operating in a couple of ways. We work with, as I said, the consulting and the coaching of the executive teams, but then there's the people managers, right? The ones who are really touching people every day, the hiring managers, and the talent acquisition teams, the recruiters, right? Who are going out and sourcing and bringing people into the workplace. So we do a lot of education for those teams.
Okay.
And we find that if we can start there, while also working with the executive teams to get them to understand that, you know what, you are the host of this party, okay? You don't get to just toss some money at your 16-year-old and say, hey, go plan a party, right? Like, that's not how it works.
That's
like,
that'd be a crazy party, by the way.
Right. It's like, you are the host of the party, right? You are responsible for everything that goes on. So no, you don't have to be the person that is outside parking cars at the valet, right? And you don't have to be the person in the kitchen making the food and serving people at the party, but you have to know what's being served, right? You got to create the menu.
and how it goes about being served, the way it goes about, what's the demeanor and all the things that's actually really hard for a newer CEO of understanding that you are in charge of everything. You're next on the line. That's a reflection of you. So if you have someone within your organization that speaks, I guess, unkindly to an individual, that's a reflection of a CEO. Our job is to put people in a position to win, and me putting you in a position to win, that requires a lot of touch points that you don't see. So you have to really take that on board. And the ones that actually do, and they can wrap their mind around that concept, those are the ones that you do see having success.
It's funny you should say, right? Because the statistics, stats are always funny because it depends on who takes them. But the answer is somewhere between 8 and 10% of the industry make money from their podcast, either at their own show or by guest appearances.
Yep.
And as someone who's been doing that for the past 13 years, like a lot of this stuff just seems like common sense to me. And you present it to people and they go, like, okay.
It's always the small little changes, though, that make a huge gap of a difference.
Yep.
I'm just a businessman and just happen to have a show. Luckily for myself, I wouldn't say luck because I don't really believe in luck. I have a horseshoe stuck up my ass, but I'm just a businessman first, and then happen to have a show, and then I just know how to monetize. I just know how to turn it into a real business, not a affiliate marketing business where people think they own stuff and you just own the rights to license things. I mean, is what you own patentable? How is it different than everybody else out there? And then making that huge competitive advantage shift. And then they go, oh, that makes more sense. Well, it doesn't really take long for you to display your talents and skills and then going, okay, Phil knows what he's talking about here.
Yeah, so do you know what? Often it comes down to mindset, right? So I often say that the people that are failing to monetize a podcast, it's because they're running it like a TV or radio show. And when it's about a TV or radio show, it's all about the audience, right? It's all about the numbers. Like you've got to get more numbers so you can sell sponsorship and sell advertising and give away control of the podcast and all that kind of stuff. And my attitude towards it is, I mean, I have something I call a pitch slap. And a pitch slap is I'm going to pitch slap you across the face with it, right? And you'll feel it when you hear it. And my pitch slap on stage, television, podcast is always the same thing. Over the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'm going to show you how to make 7 to 8 additional figures in your business from a podcast that's got 0 listeners. And everyone goes,
that would get my attention.
Like, what's this guy talking about? But it's about the relationship, right? The power of podcasting is not in the audience. That's just an awesome byproduct. The power of podcasting is in the network. It's building high-profile relationships. In fact, we can do it, dude. Let's give an example. We're less than 5 minutes in, and here's a big golden nugget. From our conversations getting ready for this podcast, you and I are going to do business together.
Absolutely. It's a no-brainer.